All right, first and foremost, understand this is not being shared for entertainment value. This is a very serious situation, and it's being shared so that you or someone can take action and share it, call, do something. So, this is the situation. My grandparents are elderly. My grandmother has Alzheimer's. I live in California. They live in Florida. I have no idea how they're doing. I am calling in to try to find out how they're doing. And one of the options for that is a wellness check. I was told to call a wellness check on them to kind of find out what's going on. So I call a wellness check. The Polk County sheriffs go there. The person who they're supposed to make contact with, which would be my uncle, who is the younger party who lives with them as well, he wasn't there. The sheriffs just leave and say everything's okay, and that's it. They don't state why they believe it's okay. They haven't spoken to my uncle, who is the reason why I was calling, because I was told to call him, but yet he's not really responding. An additional suspicious factor is then afterwards, I then get told that I shouldn't even be checking up on them. I shouldn't even see what's going on with my grandparents. Obviously, that's a very odd and strange situation. And then I now have the sheriff who called me back when I left a message saying that, I needed to complain about this and I needed to get this solved, because the complaint is one thing, but also to find out what the hell is going on with my grandparents and why is there this secrecy as to what's going on. So I'm just going to let this play, and that's about it.
Charlie?
Yeah, is this him?
Yeah, this is Lieutenant Martin of the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Yep.
If you start yelling and cussing, we will end this conversation.
I understand, but I can't keep repeating myself over a very frustrating situation. This is very, very simple. You're not qualified.
No, it's very simple. You talk to me, I will talk to you.
I just said I understand. I just said I understand.
We're done.
We can move on.
Understand.
I said I understand. We can move on. Again, this is a very simple situation. I do want to pause there because I really don't understand what's going on with these cops, if it's a Florida thing or what's going on. But as you can see, this person has no ability to focus and move on. And that's a cop that you're paying. If you ever wondered why these shootings happen, is because idiots like that. There's a person who can't even fully assess what's happening. Here's me saying, why are you even focused on that? Let's move on. And, it's continuing. So, all right. The fact of the matter is, your officers are not qualified to say it's okay. And by saying it's okay, you're assuming and you're accusing me of being delusional. And that's a problem. Because if you're accusing me of being delusional, the fact of the matter is you have a certain amount of responsibility to at least state that clearly and as to why you believe that. And let's just clarify that, because that's not a joke. That's by law too. So understand that that's what these police officers are doing. If I'm calling in and saying I need a wellness check, whether it be a 911 call, whatever's happening, and there's no real reason for it, that's illegal. And so when I say you have a responsibility to state clearly as to what you think happened, and if you think what happened is I am just calling for the fun of it and nothing is going on, then that has to be documented. And one of the issues going on right now is that there are no documentations of anything. Granted, it's to discretion as to if somebody wants to prosecute or arrest off of that. But the fact of the matter is, you can't just I called. I'm the one who requested the service. There is a certain amount of responsibility I have not to request for a service, just like any other citizen, not to request the police in a situation in which they're not either they're not qualified or responsible. This is a situation in which they are, and so just plain and simple, that's a very simple fact that this police officer is acting as if it doesn't exist. The entire conversation could be ended simply by, I can provide you with a report, and if you disagree with the report, these are the steps you can take. But as you can see, this sheriff is already starting the phone call only a minute in, basically acting as if he's not a sheriff at all.
Charlie, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Again, so understand that. He's saying he doesn't know what I'm talking about. He calls me. He's a cop. He's not calling me for the fun of it. He's supposed to have done a certain amount of due diligence before that phone call even initiated. And yet, again, this is what Florida citizens pay for.
To you very clearly, I just received a call, or I'm getting a text from my mother, who's saying that she got a call from you. I was hoping that after last Thursday's episode, you were feeling better. This is also...
Before I go too much more into that, because that's where it gets more complicated for me to state at the time. Let's, again, understand this is a police officer. So this police officer, he's saying he doesn't know why he's calling me, but I do know that I have called in Polk County Sheriff's Department and said, hey, this is the situation. I keep asking my mother how my grandparents are doing. I'm not getting any clear answers. She's telling me to call my uncle. I call him. He's not answering. It's very kind of fishy and weird what's going on as it is. So I'm trying to kind of, find out what's going on with my grandparents and why my mother seems to be hiding information. And then the police officer then calls my mother. He's trying to hide that information from me. So in other words, if my mother hadn't contacted me immediately, he would be having this conversation with me as if he hadn't spoken to my mother and has no idea what's going on. So again, establish that we're a minute and 14 seconds into this phone call, and all this police officer has done is lie, but done so knowingly to hide information about the safety or whereabouts of two elderly people. Again, if they were perfectly fine, then they're perfectly fine. You can talk to them and, you go on. But that's not what's happening. And he's trying to make it seem as if that is what's happening. So, moving on.
After getting a call from my mother, or a text from my mother yesterday, I said, Charlie, we want to know how you are feeling. We are your family. If you don't want to respond to me, then let Bethsaida know. Bethsaida yelling and threatening me for calling the wellness check on my grandmother because she would not answer as to what's going on. So in other words, again, nothing's fine in this situation. There are people that are lying to you. I am not the one that is lying to you. There are people that are lying to you, and you're not even responding or documenting to that fact. You're literally assuming that everything's fine as there's no evidence that everything's fine.
And I want to pause on that real quick because this is something that just hasn't been addressed in all the times that, because this has been ongoing. There's literally no answer as to why these police officers are making the decision that everything's fine. That's it. I don't find that acceptable. I know that's not acceptable, but it keeps getting kind of glossed over that this is how simple this situation is that these police officers are not at all stating any logical reason as to why they believe everything's okay.
Charlie.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
My question is you called the sheriff's office wanting to complain. What is the problem? What is your complaint?
Again,
You've yet to tell me that.
There's two problems. One, I said previously, the deputy who arrived at that home did not at all ask any questions, nor state what they...
Again, let's take this from the officer's perspective real quick. He's already contacted my mother, which means, let's get a gauge on the situation again. The grandson right now in California has called a wellness check on my grandparents who live in Polk County, Florida, because my mother, who lives in Tampa, Florida, has not given me any information as to whether they're doing well or not or what's going on with them. I've been told to call my uncle who lives with them, who is not responding either. He has then contacted my mother and has that information, whatever information she gave to him as well. So he's in a situation in which he has way more information than I do. The whole reason I'm even calling is because I have no information. And yet his approach is constantly, I don't know anything that's going on. Again, realize that he just spoke to my mother. So he should be calling me and telling me what the problem is. In other words, he should be saying, I just spoke to your mother and this is what I know the problem to be. And then we can kind of move forward. But he's trying to play this game as if he has no idea what's going on, even though he called me.
In other words, they were sent there specifically with the information that my grandmother has Alzheimer's. My grandfather is not really capable of communicating very well in English. The person I was told to communicate with was my uncle who lives there. Apparently, he wasn't there at the time. The deputy just left and said, oh, everything's fine, as if everything's fine. There obviously would have to be a follow-up to go back when my uncle's actually there. Now there's the added problem of the fact now there's evidence and should be investigated as to why I'm being told to call the police by my mother, who you see the text right now, who apparently you contacted as well, and is kind of doing double talk about it all. Now, the fact of the matter is my grandparents are in a very vulnerable situation. One of them has Alzheimer's, the other one doesn't communicate very well in English, and is also disabled at this point in time. My uncle, it is what it is. He's been living with my parents for the entire time. He doesn't have much of power or authority in that household, and there's really no information other than what's known by my aunt and my mother as to whether or not my grandparents are okay. Now, no matter how you look at it, even if they wanted me to have nothing to do with the family, it's a different situation. But as you can see right now, I literally got a text while I'm on the phone with you from the person who wants me to contact you saying, why am I contacting you?
And I'm just going to stop there for a second because understand that, everybody has different family dynamics. But again, taking this from this officer's perspective, because he seems to think that he knows everything that's going on. Now, that's not to be just disregarded. In my family, my mother is the only one who has reached educational and financial success that she has, which means that pretty much every single other family member has some sort of owe to her, whether it be financially or just simply doesn't have the means to question her or go against her. So in a situation like this with my grandparents, it's a situation in which my two other aunts, no matter what they would want to do, they don't have the money or the ability to really be able to do it the way my mother can. They have already indicated there are things wrong, but again, because of the family dynamic, there wouldn't, it would be really me, the person who would kind of step up and kind of try to do what I'm doing right now and involve the authorities and other things. But this officer seems to be taking kind of whatever my mother said as blanket authority to just disregard all these other facts without him having investigated them at all, because he hasn't investigated them at all. They're facts that he's acting as if aren't true. So again, moving on.
Problem going on with that.
It sounds like your mom's asking you why you were trying to contact us.
She's the one who initiated the contact. Again, I'm not sure where you're.
Again, so this is what you pay for, Florida. This is a sheriff. After everything that I've said, he says that it sounds as if my mom is wondering why I'm trying to contact them. Now, as a cop, immediately there should be something wrong with that as it is, period. But more so being aware of the fact that I just spent, the previous minutes explaining the fact that the whole reason I even had to do a wellness check is because my mother is not giving me the information about their well-being, is telling me to call a wellness check. And so that's why. And it seems difficult to believe that this police officer just can't seem to accept that fact.
Not getting this. Again, you're accusing me by playing stupid, because it's really what it comes down to. Again, my mother, who you just spoke to,
accused you of anything, Charles.
you are by seemingly not understanding something as simple as my mother has been lying to you. There are elderly people in your county.
Why would your mother lie to me?
Again, I'm not a
I
cop.
had a 5-minute conversation with her.
I don't know, but that's the problem. I don't know why you are assuming that she's not. Again, you're accusing me of her not lying to you right now. Again, I don't know how you expect me to... You think I'm a mind reader? I just got a text from my mother, literally, about you. Which means that what you're doing, again, is creating a worse situation. Because what you were told was, and you should have an understanding of, my mother has mental health issues. Number one. Take that away because you're not qualified in that area. That's exactly the whole point. Two, just as a cop, you have just been told. For some reason, I'm being told by my mother to contact you. And then what you're doing, instead of finding out why she is saying this or what's going on, you've obviously spoken to her and seem to believe as if I'm just being delusional on the phone right now. As if I'm calling you and I don't have any actual evidence or knowledge that there's obviously something wrong and a need to resolve it. This could have been resolved last week. By simply the officer stating what it is that they spoke to my grandparents about, what it is they believe, and then I can move on and at least address that. Right now, there's a situation in which you believe you know something. My mother believes she knows something, and all of it is incorrect because I'm still in San Francisco. My mother is still contacting me. Nobody knows where if my grandparents are okay, or whether or not any of the things that my mother has said is correct. Because, again, you're doing this weird thing.
Tell you, Charlie. Your grandparents are okay. My deputy went and talked to them.
Again, I don't know where the fuck you think you're qualified. Again, explain it. Why are you qualified?
You have a good night.
So there's a little more, I think, coming up. As you see, he hung up.